7th day of November 2023 it is. Good afternoon. This is KBC Lunchtime News. My name is Bentroy Njoe. I'm joined by Susan Thuku on the sign language interpretation. We have a fully loaded bulletin right here for you. Let's keep it interactive on all our social media platforms as we are live. We begin our live coverage of the ongoing downpour in various parts of the country, where over 200 families in the border town of Mororo between Garissa and Tana River counties have been displaced by the ongoing floods. The displaced persons have been forced to move to higher grounds for their safety and construct makeshift shelters. They are now calling for urgent intervention from relevant authorities.
The border town in Mororo has witnessed mass displacement following River Tana breaking its banks due to heavy rains. Households, schools, churches and a dispensary ravaged by the downpour, leaving locals with little to salvage. Red Cross is on the ground to assess the damage even as it readies itself for aid while advising people to move to safer grounds.
Tunaenda kusaidiana na wao tukishirikiana na county government kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao nyumba zao zimeingia maji then wanapata shelter ya kuweza kuwasaidia kwa kipindi hichi.
For the locals, urgent intervention is needed as the deluge continues.
Kila kukinyesha mvua, maji kidogo tu hata yanatujalia kwa nyumba.
Saa hii hata watoto hawana manguo za kuvaa. Tunafanya tu kusaidiwa na majirani wenye maji hajawaingilia, ndio wanatupatia nguo kidogo, watoto wanajishikilia nayo.
Maji ya kijana mna hii, kuna magonjwa ya kuharisha, malaria, watoto, lakini hakuna mtu anaweza vaa kwa hospitali kwa sababu barabara yote imefunga hii.
This even as heavy rains cause havoc in the central district of Busia County after cutting off road networks and sweeping of crops and electricity poles. The government has been called to intervene even as local leaders caution sand harvesters from continuing the trade, which is adversely worsening the situation.
Had they to have not minded the sand there, the soil here would not have been weak. So because of what was happening, the water has weakened these poles to fall down.
This again implies that next year we'll be faced the aspect of food insecurity.
Residents are thus being challenged to move to higher grounds for their safety and that of their loved ones. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Away from the heavy rains, police in Mashujaa were forced to release 4 people they were holding in their cells after hundreds of angry residents took to the streets demanding the transfer of the office commanding station OCS at Sabasaba police station. The irate residents accused the OCS of alleged harassment, arbitrary arrest of people and bribery.
Addressing the residents who had camped outside the police station for over 6 hours, Area Member of Parliament Mary Wamaua said that she had received complaints from the residents of the officer harassing people.
Ate we uza bagi, bora ulete pesa. We pika pombe haramu, bora ulete pesa. We uza kadaya, bora ulete pesa. We uza second generation, bora ulete pesa. Impunity ya wapi?
Aliniitiza balance. Asubuhi alikuwa ananiitiza lakini saa hii hataki. Nimemwambia kuja aniitizia hapa kwa mheshimiwa.
Watu wawili walishikwa jana. Sana wakienda nyumbani.
Wamaua, who stormed the station and spoke to those arrested, demanded the release of 4 people in police cells after it emerged that some had been asked to pay bribes to secure their release.
Tumerequest for their release kwa sababu hata kwa OB hakuna makosa wameandikiwa.
Maragua OCPD Jane Nyakiruma was forced to intervene and release them unconditionally when it emerged that some of them had spent more than 24 hours in police cells and had not been taken to court. The residents are now hopeful that the relevant authorities will move with speed and take action on the officer, adding that his actions are a threat to the security in the area. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, the government has expressed its commitment in enhancing trade relations between Kenya and Uganda. The Principal Secretary, State Department for East Africa Community, Abdi Dubat, said that the government is working on setting up a cross-border business hub in Busia one-stop border sport. The market, dubbed Jumuiya Cross-Border, is set to be constructed in a 40-acre piece of land. It will enhance trade relations between the communities that live in Busia border.
It is vital to raise awareness among the border communities on the importance of promotion of cross-border cohesion, trade, and collaborative efforts. A Jumuiya cross-border market comprises 3 sectors: the retail sector, catering for the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise traders; the business hub, which supports the youth in cross-border trade and creative arts in line with our bottom-up economic transformation agenda; and a wholesale sector with go-downs providing an opportunity for multinational corporations to use Busia as a forward base to access the markets in the larger EAC.
Residents of Malindi in Kilifi County are calling on the government to modernize and transform the government press into an efficient entity to enable it to print vital documents such as passports, national examinations, and election materials. Led by former Malindi Mayor Patterson Kafulo, the residents lamented that the country was spending huge amounts of much-needed revenue to procure printing services outside the country when the services could be carried out in the country at lower cost. They were speaking in Malindi town during a public participation session on the draft Government Press Policy 2023. The session was organized by the Presidential Task Force on the Modernization and Transformation of the Government Press into an efficient and highly performing viable entity whose mandate is to develop a policy and strategic framework for building a Kenya government press for the future.
Itakuwa na uwezo ya kuprint enough kwa nchi yote. Hapo mahali kuna shida ni mahali ya distribution. Hapo mahali ya retail. Kama hata unavyoelewa kampuni mingi, hata tuseme Coca-Cola kwa mfano, mahali wanaunda manufacturing ni mahali moja, alafu distribution ndio tutaweza kuweka nguvu to ensure hiyo mashini hata kama iko pale Nairobi, distribution kwa mwananchi ni rahisi. Mwananchi anaweza kuenda pale kwa cyber ama mahali popote ama kwa ile administration ambayo tuko nayo aweze kufanya application na distribution iwe rahisi.
Wale wanapata tenda za nchi tofauti tofauti, kwa hivyo time nyingine wanachelewesha ile kuleta ile delivery ya Kenya. Mimi ombi langu naunga mkono kikamilifu azimio ama wazo hili la kuiwezesha government printers, kuipa ili iweze kupata vifaa, ipate wafanyaji kazi wawezeshwe waweze kutupa hii huduma.
Let's shift gears to matters KCSE Examination Day 2, where over 10 suspects are behind bars after being arrested while in possession of fake Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE examination papers. And in a bid to seal cheating loopholes, the Ministry of Education has further directed all examination invigilators and supervisors not to enter exam rooms while in possession of mobile phones. Here's Joseph Wahungu with more.
The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE exam entered day 2 today, with government stepping up efforts to curb malpractices. Speaking when he supervised the opening and distribution of examination papers at the Kibera Deputy County Commissioner's office in Nairobi today, Basic Education Principal Secretary Dr. Belio Kipsang revealed that 10 suspects have so far been apprehended for purporting to be in possession of examination papers.
More than 10 of these people who have been playing around have been arrested. And I can assure all of us again that quite a number of these sites have been brought down. We are engaging with other jurisdictions to deal with some of the social media sites that require an extended engagement. But our colleagues at the Communication Authority, our colleagues who deal with cybercrime, I want to say thank you.
Dr. Kipsang said examination containers are being opened twice a day to minimize cheating, while reiterating that examinations will go on despite the government declaring 13th November 2023 a public holiday.
We are aware 13th was gazetted as an holiday next week, but we would want, having consulted with our colleagues, we are all agreeing that it will not have any impact on our examinations. What that tells us is that there is somebody in our process who is betraying our process. Because this paper is not anywhere else, it's only in the exam room. So we must be vigilant, as the CEO said, in making sure that nobody goes to the exam room with a phone. We go to our old tradition where all the phones are left in your office.
He later monitored the administration of exams at Moi Girls High School in Kericho County, accompanied by Kenya National Examination Council Chief Executive Officer Dr. David Jegere, among others. For Lunchtime News, I'm Joseph Wahungu.
All the best to all the candidates sitting for their examinations. Elsewhere, over 500 residents of Mihango, Njiro and Chokaa are seeking the intervention of the court to block their looming December 31st eviction deadline. Through their lawyers, the residents have filed an urgent application before the High Court in Nairobi seeking to overturn the eviction order issued by Justice Samson Okongo, issued in Kisumu 2 weeks ago. The residents were ordered to vacate the over 1,000 acres of land located in Embakasi, Nairobi, and that belongs to former MP Gershon Kirima. Ruth Wamboy, the details in the Scales of Justice segment.
Barely 2 weeks after presiding judge of the Environment and Lands Court, Samson Okongo, of Kisumu Law Court gave a green light for the eviction of the Njiro squatters at the Kirima family land. The affected residents have rushed to the High Court to block the order and filed a new suit under a certificate of urgency.
Only later on to learn that the person who had been brought to us as the rightful owner has come up, that is the family of the estate, with the estate of the late Dominic has shown up, and it's showing documents which seem to be making sense, seem to be the correct documents.
They are calling on the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to ascertain the documents submitted in court by the Kirima family.
Cabinet Secretary for Lands, who is the custodian of documents, called the land to come out plus the PS and explain where did the government go wrong. And now that we are brought to the right information, we believe very strongly that that judgment will be set aside.
Residents have sued Teresia Kirima and 1,310 others. The latest development comes a week after Embakasi East legislator Babu Owino and his Kasarani counterpart Ronald Karauri were also in court disputing Kirima's ownership of the parcel of land. On the same breath, two businessmen were paraded before Senior Principal Magistrate Susan Shitubi for defrauding Placid View Limited, land worth 40 million shillings, located at Imara Daima Estate. The accused Eric Munene and Kelvin Mugambi are charged with forging title deed, altering the said certificate, purporting it to be generally issued by the Ministry of Lands. They were ordered to deposit a cash bail of 2 million Kenya shillings plus one contact person, each, or an alternative bond of 5 million Kenya shillings, plus two sureties to secure their release pending trial.
To be approved by the trial court. The prosecution to supply the defense copies of the charge sheet, witness statements, and all documents to be relied on, including the police abstract.
To health matters now, the role of digital technology in transforming the healthcare landscape took center stage during the Global Digital Health Week Awareness Conference held in Nairobi. The meeting bringing together players from the Ministry of Health, Office of the Data Protection, digital health experts, innovators, and users of digital health applications focused on ways of using the digital space to reshape healthcare delivery to achieve universal health coverage. Acting Head, Directorate of Health Policy Monitoring and Evaluation, Dr. Joseph Sitiene, said the government is working towards advancing healthcare through digitization, calling on Kenyans to embrace telemedicine and other available digital platforms. The two-day conference provides a platform for knowledge exchange, networking, and collaborative discussions aimed at advancing digital health solutions.
The president is very passionate about the community health promoters, and they recently launched electronic community health information systems, which forms part of the overall thing.
We are talking of how to use technology to be able to enhance trust, transparency, accountability, and the ultimate objective is to improve on experience and also on health outcomes such as maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and all that.
Now, the spouse of the Deputy President, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, has reiterated that same-sex relationship is against the Kenyan law and culture. Speaking in Matura Village, Oljororok, Nyandarua County, during a burial ceremony, Pastor Dorcas reiterated teachings of the holy books, the culture, and the Constitution disapprove same-sex marriages. At the same time, Nyandarua Deputy Governor Mathara Mwangi lauded the efforts by Pastor Dorcas in the fight against alcoholism to secure a future for the boy child. He said efforts employed such as licensing of bars have borne fruits in minimizing alcohol abuse, not just in Nyandarua but across the country.
No matter how much money is poured, we must remind ourselves the Bible says male and female God created He. He blessed both and gave him the inheritance of God to go and multiply, increase, prevail, and have dominion.
Nyandarua County is also in the forefront. We have deliberately combined effort with the administration, and we are happy that our people in Nyandarua, they are very cooperative. If you drive around here, I can assure you, you're not yet in a drunk young man or woman. They have cooperated.
Paul is a demonstration.
Moving on, government security agents have been urged to change their strategy if the war on terror is to be won. Addressing the press during a counter-terrorism workshop in Garissa County, Northeastern Regional Commissioner John Otieno says terrorist groups have over time changed their tact and are now involved in targeted attacks that are intelligence-led. Garissa has witnessed a series of attacks orchestrated by the militants, which has seen several police officers, police reservists, and civilians losing their lives. The workshop brought together county security teams from Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Tana River, and Kitui and Garissa counties. Other participants included the youth, women, religious leaders, and civil society groups within Garissa County.
The AS have changed their strategies of engagement, and they cannot be ahead of us, because if that happens, then we will lose this region to the dogs. We need to be ahead of them, and that is why we are relooking at our strategy on violent extremism.
One of our thematic areas is actually the media, because we know the role that you play. And it's very important that you help us to reach our people with the correct messages, with the correct information, because the enemy, the violent extremists, will always try to propagate a lot of misinformation and disinformation.
Siaya County government is reporting an increase in immunization coverage following the shift to preventive care through community health promoters. According to the governor, James Orengo, the deployment of community health promoters has helped the reduction of the county disease burden from 33% to 19%. Speaking in Musiro village, Orengo further said the community health promoters have played a key role in helping the county government to lower the burden, and so far skilled birth deliveries have increased from 56% to 96% and in effect reduced maternal and child deaths.
That I want to work to make a change so that the health sector in Siaya can advance. We have plans to build a modern medical complex in Siaya, and it is already part of it in the budget. We want to build a modern complex in Bondo and Siaya being the two main centers. We want in each sub-county to have a level 4 hospital.
Kajiado County government is calling for the fast tracking of the process to transfer Amboseli National Park management to the county government from the national government. Led by Area Governor Joseph Olelenku, leaders from the region want government departments to speed up the transfer process amid calls to prioritize compensation of victims of human-wildlife conflict. President William Ruto announced a 50-50 revenue sharing plan between the county government and Kenya Wildlife Service in management of Amboseli National Park.
Imekuwa kwa muda mrefu fedha haziweki za kutosha za kuweza kufanya compensation. Mwaka huu tuko na 1.1 billion, kuna zingine zaidi ya shilingi milioni 800, na mimi nataka kuongeza zingine bilioni 1.5 ndio tuweze kufanya expedited compensation. It is injustice not to recognize the contribution of 1 million acres by those who are enjoying their wildlife benefits accruing from only 80,000 acres. On the promise of the Constitution and the promise of our nation, Kenya, social justice must continue to prevail.
Now, a family in Mvita constituency, Mombasa County, on whose land the county government of Mombasa constructed a cable road in 2015, is now appealing for compensation in a bid to offset a bank loan. The family bid to seek court redress to compel the county government to compensate them with 56 million shillings for the road materials to be removed to the devolved government hit a snag in 2018 after Mombasa Environment and Land Court dismissed the prayers. The court, however, ruled that the action by the devolved government amounted to trespassing. The family has now filed a petition at the Mombasa High Court for a review of the ruling by the Environment and Land Court.
Kwa hapa naomba ikiwa kupata nimevunja sheria nijue, lakini najua sijavunja sheria yote. Hii hakimiliki, hii ni title yetu, ni ploti zetu. Na watu wote ukiangalia kwenye ma TV sasa hii unapata watu wanaregeshwa haki zao, ardhi zao, lakini mimi sipati. Mimi napelekwa huko nikiregeshwa huko nikiambia kotini napoteza wakati tu. Na pesa zinaenda kila siku kutafuta mawakili. Mimi naomba msaada. Naomba msaada wote nitakaopata.
Waziri wa ardhi, mamangu Alsi Waome, najua wewe ni mtendaji kazi, na swala hili nimekusungumzia. Huyu msichana ni msichana mdogo sana, anahangaishwa na mawakili huku mbele nyuma, na hapa hajapata haki yake. Ninakuomba waziri ufika katika sehemu hii uweze kusaidia hii familia ipate fidia yao, aweze kufanya transfer ya title deed kutoka from the late babake irudi kwake, ili aweze kuangalia vile anaweza kuchukua loan akalipe loan ambazo ziliachwa na baba yake marehemu.
Hii ni unyanyasaji ambao sisi kama wananchi tunasema ni uonevu, na ikiwa ni manufaa kwa wananchi, chochote kile ambacho kitatumiwa kwa jamii ni lazima serikali ya kaunti imlipe ridhaa huyu mtoto wa marehemu ili iweze kutumika na wananchi.
From the coast to county number 14, where a section of Embu legislators has put to task contractors constructing roads in Manyata and Runyenjes constituencies for failing to meet the required standards. The leaders asked the contractors to redo the poorly done road in Runyenjes constituency. According to Runyenjes Member of Parliament Eric Moshangi, the road that connects Mbeere North and Runyenjes constituency does not meet the required standards. KERA Director Engineer John Washai assured residents that they will ensure that roads are constructed to the stipulated standards, adding that the contractor of the Kanyuambora Kadageri road will only be paid after redoing the road.
Ni kubwa. Tutasubiri itulie vile ameomba. Lakini ikitulia na yeye akuje na magari yake na greda zake, atafute maram mzuri na asiende kutafuta maram mahali alichukua maram matope, si ndio? Mumuonyeshe maram mzuri, si ndio? Aweke maram mzuri, aweke kiasi mzuri ya maram, atuachie barabara mzuri, si ndio? Ndio sisi tuendelee na kazi zetu za kawaida.
Contractors wa Kenya wachukulie kazi yao serious, na ukipewa kazi unafanya kwa bidii, unaweka mara mzuri, unaajili jeshi ya hapa.
Very well, and that report from Embu County takes us to a fast break at about 27 minutes past the top of the hour. Don't go away, we still have more news. We still also have to look what's in business and also what's in sports.
The Institution of Engineers of Kenya, in partnership with Engineers Board of Kenya and partners, presents yet another packed event, the 30th IEK International Convention. It's bigger and better, with over 4,000 delegates expected. From the 14th to the 17th November 2023 at Pride in Paradise Resort, Mombasa. Register, attend, learn and network.
See you there. Let us be there and have a good convention.
See you there.
You can't afford to miss this.
See you there.
See you in Mombasa.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma, jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
Welcome back and many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Let's move on. Lamu County residents now want investors to involve themselves in projects that have less environmental and livelihood effects on the residents. The residents, led by Save Lamu Chairman Somo M. Somo, said they will cooperate with government in the implementation of sustainable projects while rebuking companies that aim to invest in projects that will affect the environment and normal lives of the locals. He said despite winning a lawsuit against the construction of a coal plant project on the island 5 years ago, some companies are still eyeing to invest in the project.
Hapa tunategemea mambo ya uvuvi, nafikiri 80% tunategemea uvuvi, vile vile pia tunategemea na utalii.
Tunasikia nchi ambazo zimeweka hii mambo ya coal power plant hawajajaliwa kuona zile star zile, ona, na watalii wanakuja hapa wanaona star, wanaona mwezi, ona. Kwa hivyo labda duru tafanyika, mambo kama hayo tutayakosa. Vile vile pia itaathiri viumbe hai baharini.
Mashirika mbalimbali yanakongamana wakitathmini faida ambazo wanazipata kulingana na kutumia njia za energy ambayo si renewable, yani wanatumia energy ambayo ni fossil fuel, na ambayo sisi wananchi wa kawaida inatuletea madhara. Wao wanahesabu faida, sisi tunahesabu madhara mbalimbali.
Cabinet Secretary for Interior Kithure Kindiki held a top security meeting in Meru County following increased cases of cattle rustling in the area. While pledging government's commitment in dealing with the menace, Kindiki warned local leaders against politicizing cattle rustling in the region. Speaking after holding a security strategy meeting with members of the Eastern Region's Security and Intelligence Committee in Meru County, Kindiki warned that any leader found culpable of incitement, financing or planning banditry and livestock rustling will be apprehended and prosecuted. This story and more in our county news wrap.
CS Kindiki arrived in Meru Monday morning to assess the security situation following reports of repeated livestock theft by armed criminals. The CS announced the set of additional security camps for the anti-stock theft unit and the General Service Unit Special Forces in Igembe North.
We have instructed our security agencies to make sure that the war against cattle rustlers is not in any way politicized.
Elsewhere, police in Shinyalu, Kakamega County are holding 3 suspects who are believed to be involved in a series of attacks in the area. The police have in the meantime recovered 18 chicken and 5 goats that were being ferried using a tuk-tuk by the criminals.
Asubuhi nimepata kwamba kuku wangu karibu kuku 9 wamepotea. Na nikaweka kwa mtandao, tunakuwa na mtandao wetu wa Ilesi Neighbors. Kwa hiyo mtandao ndio nikaambiwa kuna kuku wamepatikana hapa kwa station, ndio sababu nimekuja kuangalia kama nitawapata hapa.
The government has warned Kenyans against falling prey to land cartels in the country by avoiding shortcuts when seeking land documents. Lands Cabinet Secretary Alice Waome said that land registries across the country were full of land cartels out to defraud Kenyans by promising faster processing of title deeds.
Wacha niambie wa Kenya, wale ambaye wanataka kupata shamba, don't look for shortcuts. Kwa sababu utaenda udanganywe, upeane pesa yako.
Meanwhile, women faithful from the Church of God in East Africa, Kenya, Gatembe region, concluded the national annual week of giving back to the society. During the week, the women pool their resources and donate to the needy, including widows and the vulnerable in line with their faith.
This is not only confined within the church, but it goes beyond the church, it goes up to the society. So this becomes a very critical point where you find that the church is also coming in to subsidize what the government cannot be able to do in terms of meeting the expectation of the people who are unfortunate within our society.
Finally, Kisii County Assembly members and Bobaracho ward residents have condemned an attempt on area MCA's life, Ibrahim Onkubo, by armed robbers. The ward representatives petitioned the national government to provide police officers or arm the MCAs by virtue of the oversight role they played to ensure their security.
It's a wake-up call that this conversation now must begin on how safe the honorable members, especially the members of county assemblies.
Tunaomba serikali kuu, Professor Kindiki, sijui tuseme nini kama sisi kama watu wa security, lakini inatakikana kuna jambo litakana ifanyiwe.
Very well, from that report we cross over to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, where Roads Cabinet Secretary Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen is currently chairing a multi-agency team drawn from the Kenya Revenue Authority, in Ministry of Interior and Immigration in regards to road safety. Let's first of all listen in.
The moment they board the plane and from the moment they land at the airport and the moment they exit. To that end, To facilitate a seamless entry to the airport, we have agreed that we are going to deploy technology to improve the screening at the passenger screening yard that is outside there. Many Kenyans have told us that the experience of having to alight from a vehicle to be screened is not necessary because it doesn't happen in other parts of the world. To that end, we are going to ensure that we procure latest equipment that passengers can be screened in motion. They do not have to alight from their vehicles for purpose of screening those vehicles, except vehicles that are going to be established to have suspicious material, and therefore they will be stopped by the police for search, just like it happens everywhere in the world. To ensure also that there is a seamless and faster check-in at the airport, we have agreed that we are going to deploy technology to facilitate faster self-check-in by passengers at the airport, and to facilitate movement of passengers as they get into the airport from the immigration side when they enter the airport. That self-check-in, we are going to deploy technology to make sure that the queue that we always see at the airport for purpose of checking in and for purpose of immigration will be reduced by deployment of technology, but also by increasing the number of human resource. The immigration department have assured us that they are going to increase the immigration officers by 60 officers before the end of this year to ensure that passengers who are coming in and exiting from the airport are facilitated seamlessly. I need to go back to say that insofar as the airport parking services is concerned, the company that is providing the parking services at the airport as our instructions to increase the exit and entry booths. As you've seen, queues are always increased at the exit and entry. And
Road CES Kipchumba Murkomen there, of course, with other stakeholders drawn from various sectors there, addressing a number of issues in regards to transportation and more specifically on safety. And they're talking about technology will facilitate faster check-in for passengers. There's also been increasing booths to increase the check-in and the check-out for passengers for easier management of the transport in the airport. They are speaking at the JKIA, and you need to check out our subsequent bulletin for that report in a more loaded version. Elsewhere, IFC Country Manager for Kenya, Amena Arif, says there is need to tailor insurance and financial guidance to women since they are more vulnerable to physical and financial shocks and often have limited access to coping mechanism. Here's Frederick Mwoki with the details.
According to the World Bank, 31% of Kenyan households are women-headed. The report indicates that women tend to be more vulnerable to physical and financial shocks and often have limited access to coping mechanisms. It is believed that insurance and financial guidance can support women to protect themselves, their families, communities, and society.
We also want to give them opportunities to network. We know women like networking. We'll give them opportunities to network, and also we give them the solutions that speak into their unique risks that they face as women, and also empower them to build and strengthen their life financially.
International Financial Corporation Country Manager for Kenya says IFC and APA Insurance are working on enhancing access to financial products by women and Kenyans at large.
Kenya, there are a target population of several million women that we believe we can help. We hope to get to several 100,000 of those over the next few years. The problem really lies in the fact that in Kenya, in the lower middle income segment, screenings are less frequent, are less regular.
Able to start this women's program is IFC approached us, and they say that women's programs are becoming very successful provided that they are done.
The latest focuses on health, wellness, personal wealth and savings, as well as a cash benefit in case one is diagnosed with cancer. Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
Well, those who use beauty products need to listen to this. Kenyans have been urged to purchase beauty products from registered and verified retailers to avoid falling prey to those selling counterfeits. Global brand CeraVe that has introduced its acne range in the Kenyan market says consumers ought to protect themselves by seeking the genuine products to avoid health concerns. Take a look.
The entry of big international brands to the massive cosmetic market in Kenya, valued at over 20 billion shillings, has seen counterfeiters selling brand name imposters to consumers at cut-rate prices. CeraVe, a global name making inroads into Kenya's lucrative market, has limited the sale of its products to pharmacies to ensure that consumers are not duped by counterfeiters. The firm that launched its acne range said it works closely with dermatologists to come up with products that are safe for the consumers.
CeraVe products are developed with dermatologists. That means they have safe ingredients and they have been tried and tested on acne-prone skin to ensure that they are effective and give the best solutions without disrupting the skin barrier.
As dermatologists and doctors, that acne is the #1 skin condition that they see and for which patient comes to see them.
The firm said sensitization on correct use is important, seeing that acne is the most prevalent skin condition.
So really do work together to educate our content creators about acne, about our products, how to safely use them, and how to clear your acne in a good way.
Research conducted in Kenya by the International Society of Dermatology has revealed a notably high prevalence of acne in the country, ranging from 0.1% to 8.9%, with Western Kenya recording a rate of 11.2%. Betty Kiptum, Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, livestock markets in West Pokot County have been temporarily closed as a precautionary measure to contain the spread of the foot and mouth disease. West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin says the devolved unit has procured vaccines for treatment of infected livestock and is putting in place measures to reduce the spread of the disease.
Livestock farmers in West Pokot County have been urged to avail their cattle, sheep and goats of vaccination against transboundary diseases, especially during this rainy season. Veterinary officers are urging farmers to remain on high alert of the foot and mouth disease and report any cases of infection immediately.
Mpango yetu aswa ni yenye tunasema tutafanya ring vaccination. Kwa sababu tayari tumesimamisha masoko, kutembea kwa ng'ombe itakuwa rahisi huu ugonjwa kuisha.
The Directorate of Veterinary Services says livestock officers have mapped out all areas prone to the foot and mouth disease.
Wakulima tushirikiane pamoja, walete mifuko yao mali tukiitisha, na mpango yetu tu ni kwenda kwa mashamba ili tuweze kuchanja hizo mifuko, ndio mifugo isitembee na iweze kuchanganyana.
Further, vet officers have directed that carcasses of all livestock suspected to have died in the area from the disease to be buried not less than 4 feet below the surface or burnt in order to contain the spread of the disease. Nduta Mukami for Lunchtime News.
In other news, the government will continue rolling out policies that encourage the growth of local industries. Industry Principal Secretary Juma Mukwana says the plan is to increase the contribution of the sector to Kenya's wealth by 30% by the close of the decade. The PS was speaking during celebrations to mark World Quality Day 2023 hosted by the Kenya Bureau of Standards.
I think it's time that we try to do more for ourselves. The idea that we want is to build these industrial parks, produce products, and network them, sell them through an online portal. So even if you're in Lamu, you can sell your products in an online portal. So somebody in Busia can buy your product, and within 24 hours, you can be able to.
So as Kenya Bureau of Standards, we have an SME policy which we are pursuing.
And in this policy, we are going to build capacity of quite a number of micro and medium enterprises. And we are looking at capacity building of 24,000 micro enterprises in our economy.
You find that the critical thing for the country at this point in time, and it is starting to happen, is to drive an export-oriented industrial strategy as well, so that we balance out, because it is going to help us in terms of many things.
Further afield, office sharing company WeWork, once valued at $47 billion, filed for bankruptcy protection in a New Jersey federal court. The filing gives WeWork legal protection from its creditors and more tools for negotiations with landlords. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across the world.
WeWork was once seen as the future of the office, but it relied on rapid growth to mask its steep costs. WeWork shares have lost around 99% of their value this year. On Monday, trading of WeWork shares was temporarily halted on the New York Stock Exchange amid reports of a possible bankruptcy filing. In the first half of this year, WeWork lost more than $1 billion. Founded in 2010, WeWork claimed in June this year to have more than 700 locations around the world and about 730,000 members. Elsewhere, an Italian judge has ordered the seizure of $835.5 million from short-term rental giant Airbnb over alleged tax evasion. Prosecutors say the firm failed to collect a tax from landlords on around 3.7 billion euros of rental income. Landlords in Italy are required to pay a 21% tax on their earnings. Airbnb said that it was surprised and disappointed at the action announced by the Italian public prosecutor. Airbnb spokesperson Christopher Natali said the firm's European headquarters had been working to resolve the matter with the Italian tax agency since June. Finally, Australia's tourism industry says China's decision to include the country on the list of popular destinations for group tours is critical to its recovery and its ability to handle an increase in international visitors. Odyssey Travel in Melbourne has weathered many challenges since it opened in 1997. But the toughest by far was the pandemic, which it managed to survive despite staff and resource cutbacks. However, other travel businesses have not weathered the storm so well. In an effort to speed up the return, Tourism Australia launched an ad campaign in China earlier this year.
Very well, and on that report, let's first of all cross over to the State House, where President William Ruto and the Chilean Prime Minister have just had some bilateral talks. Let's first of all listen into what the President has to say.
Today, we held in-depth discussions on ways of enhancing trade and investment, and I thank Prime Minister Fiala for being accompanied with a huge delegation of business people who have had very fruitful interactions with our own private sector and business people under the Chamber of Commerce in our two countries. I take this opportunity to encourage the business delegations accompanying His Excellency, the Prime Minister, to explore the huge untapped investment opportunities in Kenya. And I have also informed them that those opportunities are not limited to the 52 million people in Kenya. They extend to the East African community with a population of 350 million people. Those opportunities extend to the tripartite free trade area between EAC, COMESA, and SADC with a population of 750 million people, and they extend all the way to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is a population of 1.4 billion people. To accelerate growth in trade and investment, we have agreed on the following steps for immediate action. that the Czech Republic consider establishing a commercial hub in Nairobi and use Kenya's geostrategic advantage as a gateway for the broader regional and continental engagement in terms of trade and investment, and that we implement urgent measures to establish a business council that will serve as a platform for bilateral private sector consultations and engagements to be brought together by the Chamber of Commerce in Kenya and the Chamber of Commerce in the Czech Republic. Following the Czech-Kenya Business Forum yesterday, attended by more than 120 companies from our two countries and which Prime Minister Fiala graced with his presence, I am confident that Kenya and the Czech Republic will witness higher levels of commercial and trade activities that will spur increased investment from Czech companies into Kenya in diverse fields in our economy. Czechia companies' investment in Kenya will be a most strategic decision for both our two countries. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, a market, as I have said, of 1.3 billion people, is currently being organized, and Kenya's vantage point will afford Czechia companies unimpeded access to this market. And in conjunction with Kenya's ratification of the EU Economic Partnership Agreement, Kenya offers a compelling array of benefits unmatched in our region. I did also take the opportunity to thank His Excellency Prime Minister for Czech's support as we negotiated the Economic Partnership Agreement that now has been concluded, and we will be signing it off on the 17th of December, that affords Kenya, being the first country in our region, to get quota-free, duty-free access to the European market, and that this will be a leverage that we can share with our Czech counterparts as they explore opportunities in the Kenyan space. Kenya and the Czech Republic are working in concert on biodiversity conservation, in particular on saving the northern white rhino from extinction in collaboration with the Olbejeta Conservancy in Nanyuki. Up to 25 embryos have been produced for future implantation, and we have committed to strengthen this partnership, as I thank His Excellency for the role the Czech Republic is playing in the whole space around climate action. And I have asked the Prime Minister to work with us as a continent, even as we go into COP28, to support our propositions underpinned by the Nairobi Declaration that brought together the continent of Africa, and our suggestions and our ideas forming solutions for climate change going into the future. In the complex world we inhabit, Kenya and Czech must enhance collaboration in the face of serious security challenges. We are already partnering successfully on security and defense policy and programs which reflect high level of mutual trust between our two countries, and we are committed to expand our engagement in that space. I did explain to Prime Minister Fiala that Kenya is not only an anchor country in terms of democracy, but we are also an anchor country on matters peace and security. And we are pulling our weight to make sure that we provide whatever capabilities that we have to secure this region and to democratize our continent. As pertains to the environment and climate change, we have shared our concerns on the existential threat and underscored the need for concerted effort. And therefore, I have invited Prime Minister to work with us as we walk to COP28. Likewise, Prime Minister Fiala across a range of sectors, including health, agriculture, technology, and aviation, among others. And I have congratulated Prime Minister Fiala for check support in some of our hospitals, in Malindi, in Kilifi, in Mbagathi Hospital here in Nairobi, and Vihiga Hospital in Western Kenya for their support. I also have thanked him for the scholarships that are made available to Kenyan students to study in Czech universities. And I have committed that we will look at avenues to expand in the development of our human capital, appreciating that Kenya has among the best human capital globally, and education helps us to sharpen that human capital. I've also congratulated him on the partnership on agriculture that is going on with the county of Nakuru to look at opportunities that would better unlock the potential we have in the agricultural space. And now that we have the economic partnership agreement in place, I have also asked him that the tea and the coffee that we export to the Czech Republic, we look at opportunities to expand our exports into their market, especially of our premium products that have international recognition and fame. I take this opportunity once again to thank His Excellency Prime Minister and his delegation for the fruitful engagement and outcomes that we have achieved today. I reaffirm Kenya's commitment to deepen and broaden our relations with the Czech Republic and look forward to many more fruitful engagements in future. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Please, you have the floor. Asante sana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you for the hospitality that you offered to me and my delegation, and for the friendly and very constructive discussion. Our relations are excellent. We hope official contacts will be more frequent. I hope to see you in Prague soon, Mr. President. I want to see also more Czech companies invest in your country. I want more goods traded between our countries and more tourists to visit. We talked about our extensive defense and security cooperation. We both wish to improve it even more. Czech Republic highly values the role of Kenya for the stability and security in the region. We talked about the international issues which Africa and Europe are facing. I also congratulated Mr. President for the success of the Africa Climate Summit. I look forward to its result at the COP28 in Dubai. We agreed that there are many green and innovative technologies which our companies can cooperate on. For example, they can support Kenya's ambition to use geothermal energy and the mission to stabilize Kenya's energy infrastructure. These things go hand in hand. IT technologies and space research is also a very promising area. Our high-tech companies already work with Kenyan partners on development of small satellites. I really appreciate our common project to save northern white rhinos. It shows way forward and it brings many experts together. I congratulate Mr. President that the economic partnership agreement of Kenya and the EU was concluded in June this year. It will boost our business cooperation when it is signed. Kenya has always been our major economic partner in East Asia Export to Kenya is about $20 million US. Import from Kenya in last year was $10 million US. Also, the future agreements between our countries are very important. For example, the agreement on air services and double taxation can help our economic cooperation. Dear Mr. President, I would like to thank you once more for your warm welcome and for a chance to visit your beautiful country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you very much for all the good that you have said about our country. And as you have said correctly, we will look at opportunities for more visits at the public level, but also as tourists and as enterprises and business people.
Your Excellencies, will now take a few questions from members of the press. Remember to start with your name, the media house you represent, and to your question. Let's keep them short and sweet. To your questions, members of the press.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm Eliška Negeli from the Czech News Agency. You spoke about investment from the Czech Republic to Kenya. Could you perhaps elaborate about Kenyan exports to the Czech Republic? In which sectors do you envision growth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are a highly progressive country in terms of our human capital. So there are actually three areas that will be our focus. Focus number one is export of the biggest asset we have, that is our human capital, in terms of digital jobs and in terms of export of labor. Number two is export of services. We have some of the best English-speaking people anywhere in the world, and they can work anywhere in the world from Kenya. And then, of course, we are an agricultural country, and we have some of the most premium exports to EU and to many other parts of the world. Coffee, tea, macadamia, avocado, and the whole of that space, products that we are already exporting to many parts of Europe. We think there is opportunity working together with British, European, Czech companies to explore these possibilities. And I'm very happy that the private sector accompanied the Prime Minister here so that they can be the connection between private sector in Kenya and private sector in the Czech Republic and facilitate this movement of goods and services. We have also explored with the Prime Minister possibilities of making it easy for citizens to travel. And I have undertaken to him to look at the possibility of visa waiver for Czech citizens to visit Kenya without any restrictions, so that we can enhance our trade, and we can also enhance our tourism sector. As you are all aware, Kenya was voted by the Lonely Planet, which is the biggest tourist magazine and enterprise globally, that Kenya is the best, Nairobi is actually the best destination to visit globally. So we want to make it easy for people to access Nairobi, as it has been rated very highly globally on countries and towns that globally people would want to visit. Of course, it is because of the profile we have given Nairobi and the profile we have given our country over the last couple of years to make Kenya an interesting destination to visit. So again, we are making this offer to the people in the Czech Republic. And the Prime Minister already confirms to me that he will come back because he has seen that this place is quite interesting, especially to come and pay a visit to the wildebeest migration and witness that phenomenal event that takes place every year between Kenya and Tanzania. I don't know whether I understood your question. Did I answer it? Okay.
Yes.
How many marks did I get? Okay.
Okay, Jakub Nedl, Česká televize, good morning. My question is, you were both talking about the great opportunities that there are in the cooperation for the both of the countries. So, but the way to achieve them is never easy. And have you already identified any possible obstacles on this way, and how do you want to overcome them?
I don't see any specific problem. Maybe it could have been the lack of direct contacts, but we are changing that with my visit in Kenya. And we establish a new level of our contacts, both at political and also business level. And I hope that the new treaties on air services and the double taxation will be finished soon, and I hope it will help deepen our trade, investment and contacts.
Just to confirm what Prime Minister said, in fact, if there was an impediment, it has been unlocked by the visit of the Prime Minister to Kenya. His coming here speaks volumes of the new perspectives that under the leadership of Prime Minister Czech has decided on a clear policy on engagement with Africa, which we welcome. It's a very positive development, and we need to ride on it, build on it, and drive our interactions using that momentum. And the agreements that are now in the pipeline on the Kenyan side, I think we have 4 pieces of agreements that will now go to cabinet, and then so that we can sign those agreements that are mutually beneficial, that will provide the framework for us to elevate this engagement to the next level. So I think the journey of 1,000 kilometers has started, and we are very well focused on walking this journey together.
And I took a part yesterday at the Kenyan Czech Business Forum, and one of our Kenyan friends has a speech, and it was, they said, very interesting sentence. He said, there are no problems. There are no problems. There are opportunities. It's very important, and if our friends see the situation so, I can agree. There are no problems. We have only opportunities for our cooperation.
Okay. So thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. We will now arise as we allow His Excellency the President, His Excellency the Prime Minister to retreat.
Well, that was a live feed from State House, Nairobi, where President William Ruto was hosting the Czech Prime Minister Peter Fiala. And from that press conference, it shows that they indeed have agreed on a number of agreements. Actually, 120 companies will work together with Kenyan businesses to spur growth. I've talked about, agreed a number of economic agreements, and also conservation, talking about the endangered white rhino, especially in the Opejita Conservancy, educational partnerships, and both of them have talked about dotting the I's and crossing the T's to ensure that Kenya and Czech do participate in a number of engagements. That's where we put a cap on KBC Lunchtime News this Tuesday afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bentro Njue. Susan Thuku, I beg your pardon, has been a sign language interpreter for this live newscast. Do have yourself a blessed afternoon.